What is going on? Welcome back. My name is Rambir, aka the Guafather, aka Luca Don Guava, aka the Little Burrito Boy, aka Young Guava Toli. Anyways, we're always trying to share the information that is going to help you make looking good and feeling good as simple as possible. If you're looking for secrets or shortcuts, this is not the right channel for you. And, you will find a lot of disappointment and a lot of frustration when you look for that. So if your health and the way that you look and your body is something that's important to you and you want to do it in a way that not only gets you amazing results, but in a way that's more along the lines of mastery. A lot of people will do this and they're just like, it's just something they do. That's not how we approach this. The way that we approach this, the way that I approach this is I want to achieve mastery of my body. Okay. So, simplicity is the way to get there. You can find tons of information out there that's going to make this very, very complicated, and they'll tell you to do 50,000 different things, and that's just overwhelming. If that's the way that you want to do it, that's totally fine. It's just not appealing to me. That's not how we roll. So this is about true mastery, and if you know anything about mastery, if you've mastered something, you know that the deeper you go into the basics and the fundamentals, that's where mastery is. It's not in fancy things and new things and fads and crazy things like that. So principles are key. Okay, so today I've been kind of thinking about this idea of like what do we really want? Okay, so bottom line is, as much as people talk about, I want to be healthier and so on and so forth, the number one thing is that we want to look good. That is the primary driver of wanting to start training and changing your food and your diet, all right? Some people do say, I just want to get healthier because they got health problems and whatnot. And I've just found that it's not a powerful enough motivator to get people to start moving. Even like looking good is not enough of a motivator. I feel that it's a stronger motivator, but in general, having worked with people in person and online for the last almost 10 years now, I've gotten to see patterns. So, the cool thing though is that if you look good, okay, what does look good mean? It's important to define things. Looking good is generally going to involve having lower body fat and then some muscles, because the muscles are what's going to give you shape, and then the low body fat is going to allow you to see the shape. That's all it is. We don't want to complicate this. If we decrease our body fat and we increase our muscle, you're going to look good. That's all there is to it. Okay. So this is why, like, somebody can have low body fat and no muscle, and it's not going to look that great. You're just going to look skinny. And this is also where, we'll also be skinny fat as well. Right. So like that's something that I went through for a very long time, where we're just going to adjust the levels on this mic a little bit. So that's where your arms and legs are skinny, but you still have a belly, and that's not cool. Nobody wants that. Coach Josh is shaking his head over there. So that's what looking good is. Okay. Now, turns out that if you have those components, and we can remove the label of looking good, and we just say, you have lower body fat and you have a good amount of muscle and strength. Guess what? You're going to be healthy. Like, you're just going to be healthier. I want to add a small nuance here, is that if let's say you have a little bit more body fat. You can have more body fat, but if you have muscles and strength, that really is the big component in health, strength. So that's why up here we have, you can't be weak and healthy. So if health is a concern, and I think it should be, strength is going to be the key, right? You're not going to be, there are no weak people who are healthy. It doesn't exist, okay? And that maybe that's a video in and of itself, but I just wanted to point that out because some people are like, oh, well, XYZ is blah, 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 and they're healthy. Well, yeah, like there's a certain point where you can continue to add, or you can be strong, but then have more body fat on the spectrum and then still be healthy. But like I said, it's a spectrum. So like eventually if you continue to add body fat, no matter how strong you are, like it's going to end up being unhealthy. And I also want to define what is healthy, because a lot of people use that word, but then there's like, they don't know what are they even referring to. How do you know if you're healthy or not? Like, it's just like, it's important to define words. Otherwise you can't make progress towards them. Okay. And it's also important because if you use the word healthy and I use the word healthy and we're not talking about the same thing, then there's no communication will be happening, right? And no meaningful discussion can happen. So, what does that mean? So, health or being healthy is your organs and all of the systems of your body are working together, okay? And they're working and functioning properly. Strong immune system. This is something, I mean, everybody's like, it's big right now, obviously, for obvious reasons. But a strong immune system has been something that we have been talking about at San Jose Barbell since day one. I have literally in many videos over the last 8 years, 9 years, in tons and tons of the classes, I've always talked about like, despite all the stuff we do, what's most important to me is having a strong immune system, okay? And we could get into that, but we're just going to keep it simple for this video because we want to define health. And then the third part of being healthy is feeling good, okay? And I think, and I almost want to say this thing can be something that's out here that affects all of this, okay? Because if you're not feeling good, you're literally down-regulating and harming your immune system if you're constantly not feeling good. So anxious, frustrated, like negative thoughts and negative states of being, we don't want to blanket like all of them and say that they're bad, but being in those states all the time is hurting your immune system and how all your organs work. But we're going to put these all together and say that's what health is, okay? Now, you can try to attack this stuff and treat the symptoms, or you go to the source and you do this. If you do this and you feel good, right? Because feeling good is a big component of that is what you're thinking, right? And what you're around all the time and where your attention is. If you do that, guess what? All of these things will work and you will be healthy. So I just want to point that out. Like, if you fall under these, if you check off these boxes on this side of the equation, you're going to be healthy. That's just how it goes, okay? So specifically for this, now we're going to break down what is on this side of the equation. So then, we're going to replace looks good. So this is like any math equation, right? Where both sides of the equation are equal. You set them to equal each other. So we could take out looks good and then put these things down here, which make up look good, and put them right here, right? So for a low body fat percentage, because our two biggest components are the only two components of looking good is having a low body fat and having muscles to give you shape. So for low body fat, the single biggest component of that is going to be eating the right amount of calories, okay? So Um, I, uh, I can't emphasize enough that if you don't know what amounts of calories are in things, then yeah, I mean, you could still be in really good shape, but knowing and having the certainty about how and why things are working is far better than just kind of like, well, I think it's because I'm eating this food, or I don't eat chips. Like, you can eat chips and still look good and feel good and be healthy. It's just that you just don't know how, right? Because you think that some foods are good and some foods are bad, when the reality of the situation is it's the amount of calories in those items, all right? And, you know, a lot of people will, some people will say, well, oh, calories not, it's not equal, it's this and that. Well, you know, rather than argue and discuss things and try to convince other people, I look at facts and science and data, because then I'm not interested in convincing you. I'm just showing you that, hey, you can look at the same information and run an experiment and find out for yourself. Myself, we have all of our clients, whether they're in person or online, you know, we have seen in our own data that somebody who is low body fat and has good muscle and strength, and they know their calories and they're eating stuff like, so for example, like if you look at my MyFitnessPal diary, I'll eat, you know, I eat donuts every day, in and out, tons of times. Actually, you'll see In and Out pretty much like every day, because In and Out is fucking delicious. And everybody who says, oh, In and Out is not this and that, first of all, don't watch the channel. Second of all, you're wrong, but that's okay. Everybody's entitled to their own wrong opinion, okay? So, point being, we have actual observable data of us eating these things, staying low body fat and having good strength, going to the doctor and having perfect blood work, perfect health, all organs, everything is working perfectly. So you can't say, oh, well, it's bad foods. Well, the data says otherwise. Also, you have people who try to eat healthy, but they're overweight because they don't know about calories and they're just eating too much of the quote unquote healthy food, and they have all sorts of problems. So don't get worked up. Don't try to convince. Don't get, you know, butthurt that somebody says that you can eat donuts. Like, why would you get butthurt about that? Instead, run the experiment. Find out for yourself what the truth is, right? So, all that being said, for your low body fat, it's going to be calories. And then, so calories, we're going to break it down into two components again. JERF, meaning just eat real food. So why is that there? Like I just told you, you could eat donuts. The reason JERF is there is because real foods that are single ingredients, so like a banana's only ingredient is what? Banana's a banana. Rice's only ingredient is what?
A rice.
A rice. Chicken's only ingredient is?
A chicken.
Chicken. So it's these are things that are ingredients, not have ingredients. Spinach, vegetables, fruits, you know. The reason that those are a good thing to consider is because one, they have lower calories and they fill you up more. Number two, they have tons of vitamins and minerals. You might want those things. Number three, easy to track. That's why we were talking about it's a banana's only ingredient is a banana. All I gotta do is weigh it. I know exactly how many calories are in there. I don't have to figure out, like, when people make it very complicated to track their calories and they're eating, like, what's something that people eat? Like pokey, like, yeah, it has like just real foods mostly, but you don't know because there's so much stuff and it's all mixed in all together. What's another one? Like some random person's lasagna that you don't like. I've no fucking clue. So
Indian buffets.
Indian food at Indian buffets, like, you're not going to figure it out. So why would you do that to yourself and then be like, oh, well, it's hard. Yeah, it's fucking hard. You're trying to do calculus level stuff when you didn't even fucking take, preschool just learning the numbers. You don't even know the numbers. So you can't do anything. Korean food, right? So not that you can't eat those foods, but fucking learn your ABCs. You don't want to learn your ABCs, so I can't help you, right? And then the second component of your calories is fun foods. The reason that's important is because if you say, oh my God, I don't want to do this because I love, I don't know, what's something that people love?
Love pancakes.
I love pancakes and I can't live without pancakes. Well, guess what? A good idea would be for you to have jerf as your foundation and then figure out your calories and have pancakes every fucking day. Every goddamn day with real syrup, okay? And preferably you make them by yourself at home because, number one, that's a fun activity to make pancakes. What? Or go to IHOP. You could do that too, and get their cinnamon toast crunch. But I love to make food at home. It's an enjoyable thing, which we'll get into that a little bit later. But long story short, I can't wait to make pancakes with my kids every Sunday, or maybe even every day. I don't know. We'll find out. But when you eat your favorite foods every day, there's no more binge. There's no more, oh my God, it's so hard. Like, because you said you wanted XYZ food and you can eat that every day. You can't eat a whole pizza every day unless you're like somebody who's huge and you need more calories. But for the rest of us, we can eat anything we want every single day as long as we fit it into our calories, right? So that's why jerf is so great. For me, jerf shows up as chicken because that helps me get my protein and keeps me full. And usually some type of vegetable. I don't eat a ton of vegetables, and the blood work and everything is just fine. And that's why I'm saying, like, run experiments. Don't blindly take other people's, whatever's coming out of their mouths or whatever you saw on some latest documentary on Netflix. Like, run the experiment for yourself and find out. Don't just sit there and like, oh, I don't know. Like the latest post that I put on Instagram, like Indiana Jones says, if you want to be a good archaeologist, go into the field, right? You got to leave the library. Why not find out for yourself versus like, doing all of this mental work and just feeling more fear and anxiety and frustration without getting any clear answer, right? So that's the calorie component. Now, you're losing fat, you're doing great. Now you're starting to see what's underneath. What kind of muscles we got down there? Shit, you didn't do any strength training. You don't got any muscles down there. Or you do, but they're pool noodle muscles. Pool noodle muscles are going to be soft and they're not going to have much shape. They're going to look like a pool noodle. In order to give the muscle shape, they're not going to get shape just because you want to look good. They're going to get shape based on what you do to them or what you make them do. Even better, not what you do to them, what you make them do. And so that's where strength training comes in, okay? Why do bodybuilders, anybody who looks muscular, what do? They make their muscles exert themselves. So now, when I'm strength training, it doesn't really matter if you're using bodyweight, kettlebells, barbells, whatever you're using, it needs, in order for the muscle to change, okay, it needs to do the work. So if I'm doing curls and I'm just sloppy, right? Why would this particular muscle change if it's not doing the work? If gravity and momentum and tendons and ligaments are taking the workload, it's not going to change. So I need to be very controlled in my lifts. So if I'm going to do curls, right? I want to think about this bicep contracting this weight up all the way, okay? If I go like this and I'm sloppy, this bicep is not doing all the work. And so people try to put more weight on the bar or lift heavier weights. And yeah, you can move it around, right? Like if you've ever seen somebody arch back and do this kind of a curl, well, guess what? A lot of things have compensated to move this weight. I don't care about lifting a heavy weight. I care about making this muscle contract as hard as I can. I heard a great quote from Jeff Cavaliere of Athlean X, and it put this idea into a sentence very beautifully. He says, muscles don't understand exercise. They don't understand what equipment you're using. They don't understand what the weight is on the bar or what number is on there. Muscles only understand the language of tension, okay? And so that's what I'm doing. Strength training, strength is simply the ability to create tension, okay? So when I'm doing a curl, I'm trying to create as much tension and contraction in my bicep. If I do that over a long enough time period, my body will change, okay? And so that's the last ingredient there, which is time. He who lifts the longest, or she who lifts the longest, will have the greatest physique. Their body will look the best, right? And the best is not a comparison to somebody else. The best is the comparison to you on a spectrum. On the spectrum, you could either your highest potential, and we don't know where the ends are, right? Like we do know kind of where the low end is, like where you're just, either really overweight and really skinny, but you're really weak and you don't have much strength and you can't move very well. That's all the way on that side. The other end is this magnificent beast, beautiful physique that you have built. We don't know what that might look like, but we know it looks good, and we know that it's going to take time to develop that. So that's what I mean, like you're not comparing to anybody else, but where are you falling on your spectrum, all right? And since we don't really know where those points are, like if you simply put in the time and the consistency, you're going to end up looking pretty amazing. And, I can't emphasize that enough. It's not about comparing to somebody else. It's about comparing to you on your spectrum, right? So that's that component. And I really like that quote of, he who lifts the longest or she who lifts the longest will have the best physique, right? Their body will look the best, again, compared to themselves. And not only will they look the best, but you're going to end up being healthier. And so I'll probably make another video on this because strength has been correlated to health and longevity, high quality of life in old age, in all kinds of different ways. So, but a very simple one, like I just like to use examples that are very simple of like, when you say shake like an old person, not even an old person, like when you're moving like this, right? What kind of quality of life is this? And where is that coming from? It's coming because the person can't move. And so, one of my favorite quotes from Martin Rooney, you didn't get old and stopped moving. You stopped moving and you got old, right? And so that's why, like, you don't have to be old and do this. That's a choice, right? Whether you're aware of the choice or not, it's a choice. And so, you can be as old as you need to be and, right? And so those are the key components of looking good and thus being healthy, right? And looking good, we want to keep it simple. It's a low body fat and it's muscle and strength, okay? Your low body fat is going to come because of calories, which you want to focus on jerf and having fun. And then your muscles are going to come from strength training, which is really making the muscles do the work, being elegant and controlled in your movement, and just doing that forever. That's it. That's all it is. If you're looking for all kinds of other things and you don't track calories and you choose difficult foods to track, or you restrict yourself, like, it's not gonna work. It's just not gonna work. And if it does work, it's gonna be either short-lived because you're using all of this willpower to do it, or so it's not effortless, or it's gonna suck the entire time. So then you don't get to really enjoy looking good anyway, because you're always stressed out and freaked out, which then goes back to this health, right? And then in that case, this is why you could look good and have health problems, because you're stressed the fuck out and your immune system is weak. So yes, this stuff is the biggest domino for this. But it has to be done in a way that feels good. Otherwise, you still compromise this because of this. Okay? So that's it for today. I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions about this, please feel free to leave a comment down below, or shoot me an email, or find me on Instagram, whatever. There's many avenues. Share this if you thought it was helpful. Like it. You already know, if you like the video, it helps show it to more people, and that's what my mission is. My mission is to help people feel good and look good and get strong and stay lean in an effortless way, right? And not just for a short time period, but for your entire life, which is very, very possible. Okay, it just starts with awareness and the right knowledge, and then feeling good enough to follow through on all of this stuff, right? So that's all I got for today. This is